Hello, everyone! A huge, enthusiastic welcome to this explainer. Whether you're a seasoned educator who's been with us for years or you're stepping up into a volunteer role for the very first time, we are so incredibly grateful you're here. Today, we're diving into the TESOL 2027 Reviewer Training, specifically focusing on the Culture and Intercultural Communications strand, or as we call it, the CIC strand. Now, as a volunteer reviewer, you're taking on a genuinely vital role. You see, you weren't just reading papers. You're actively deciding what ideas, what innovations, and what voices actually get a platform. My goal today is to make sure you feel completely confident, prepared, and really excited to take on this important responsibility. So, I want to kick things off with a pretty big question. How do we actually shape the future of global English language teaching fairly and constructively? It sounds like a massive responsibility, right? Well, honestly, the answer starts right here, with you. Your peer review work is the absolute key to elevating our entire profession. Every single proposal you evaluate, every piece of thoughtful feedback you write, helps ensure that the most relevant, inclusive, and groundbreaking ideas make their way to the main stage. You are essentially the gatekeepers of quality, and your intercultural perspective, it's invaluable. Okay, let's dive right into our roadmap for today so you know exactly what to expect. We'll start with a quick welcome to your journey, then navigate the specifics of the CIC strand. After that, we'll cover ethical reviewing and spotting bias. Then, we'll tackle the actual craft of writing constructive feedback, and finally, we'll talk about growing within our amazing TSL community. All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, Welcome to the Journey, and get a feel for the context of your volunteer work. First things first, welcome to the TESOL 2027 International Convention and Expo in beautiful Houston, Texas. Your role in the Culture and Intercultural Communications strand is directly tied to shaping the future of global ELT through peer review. You're basically helping to curate the conversations that thousands of professionals will engage with in Houston. It's a fantastic opportunity to give back to the field, and as a bonus, you get to see the absolute newest trends before anyone else does. To make this whole process as clear and easy as possible, we've broken your workflow down into 4 logical phases. Think of this as your reviewer's journey roadmap. We start with context, understanding the strand and knowing what makes a strong proposal. Then we move to your compass, navigating the ethics of peer review and applying your intercultural lens. Next up is the craft, the actual hands-on writing of your evaluation and feedback. And finally, community, your next steps with TESOL. This framework provides a really solid scaffolding for everything we're going to discuss today. With our roadmap firmly in place, let's transition over to Section 2 and define exactly what the Culture and Intercultural Communication strand actually is. Within the massive scope of this convention, which features 13 distinct clusters of related topics, the CIC identity is entirely unique. We live right at that fascinating intersection of language, identity, and cultural negotiation. When you read a proposal on our strand, you're looking for subtopics like intercultural pragmatics, cultural identities, and plurilingual approaches. You're really looking for proposals that don't just teach English in a vacuum, but explore how English interacts with global cultures and incredibly complex human identities. And this brilliantly illustrates our theoretical foundations. We draw on Carla's definition of culture as dynamic and fluid, rather than just some static set of rules you memorize. We also rely on Liticode and Scarino's approach to intercultural competence, which reminds us to completely avoid the idea of a single standard normal. Furthermore, we draw on Jackson's ideas of negotiating meaning across cultural lines and Byram and Wagner's focus on addressing complex identities. As a reviewer, keep this conceptual map in the back of your mind. Strong proposals are going to reflect these modern, highly nuanced understandings of culture. So, what does a winning proposal actually look like in practice? Well, let's break down the 4 pillars of success: relevance, innovation, nuance, and clarity. First up, relevance. Does it connect directly to intercultural ELT? Second, innovation. Does it offer fresh perspectives, say a targeted approach to preventing Islamophobia in the classroom? Third is nuance. Does it actively avoid stereotyping and instead embrace complexity? And finally, clarity. Are the outcomes for the audience crystal clear? When you review, look out for these 4 pillars. If a proposal hits all of them, you've absolutely got a winner on your hands. Now we're moving into the compass phase of our journey in Section 3, focusing on how to navigate the reviewing process fairly and ethically. As a reviewer, you are being trusted with unpublished ideas. That means your ethical compass must be perfectly calibrated around 3 things: confidentiality, fairness, and timeliness. We always want to keep all contents totally private, evaluate objectively based strictly on the provided rubric, and of course, meet our deadlines. Also, while you're in the review portal, you have a duty to flag proposals if commercial interests are being pitched, if the presenter or their institution is accidentally identified, or if sensitive topics are mishandled. It's really just part of keeping the whole process sound, fair, and professional. Because we are the culture and intercultural communications strand, we naturally want to be super vigilant about spotting bias and doing so in a very constructive way. If you see deficit thinking, framing a learner's culture as a problem to fix, flag it. If you see stereotyping, us versus them language, or general insensitivity, flag that for further review too. Now, so there is no confusion, the crucial point is this: non-standard use of English is never a reason to reject a proposal. No way. We celebrate diverse global Englishes here. We are judging the quality of the idea, not adherence to native speaker monolingual norms. Sometimes, despite your absolute best intentions, you might just not be the right person to review a specific proposal, and that is perfectly okay. Let's think through 3 common scenarios to help you decide. In scenario A, if you instantly recognize the author's project and have a conflict of interest, just request a reassignment. In scenario B, if the theory is highly specific and totally outside your wheelhouse, again, ask for reassignment. But in scenario C, if you simply disagree with a well-researched theory, in that case, you should proceed and give it an objective review based on the rubric. It is entirely professional to step back when necessary. All right, let's transition to section 4, crafting constructive proposal feedback. This is the craft phase and arguably the most practical part of our explainer. Writing good feedback is truly an art form. We want to be collegial and we want it to be actionable. For example, writing, "The proposal is full of typos. Proofread it," is blunt and honestly unhelpful. Instead, try saying, "I was distracted by typographical errors. Have you considered asking a colleague to review?" Notice the use of the I statement there? It makes a huge difference. Or instead of saying, "The proposal is unclear," you might try, "I wasn't clear on the outcomes." A brief statement of what the audience will do would really help. Using specific, kind I statements keeps your feedback constructive and perfectly professional. Even highly experienced reviewers can slip up from time to time. So let me warmly warn you against 4 common mistakes. First, never make promises to the applicant like, "I would definitely attend this." You simply can't guarantee acceptance. Second, do not copy and paste the exact same feedback into the box for the applicant and the box for the coordinator. We use those differently. Third, for the coordinator notes, avoid writing long essays. Just give us simple directives like "highly recommend" or "wrong strand." And fourth, never ignore the rubric. Your personal preference should never override the established criteria. All right, I'd love for you to pause this explainer for just a moment. Read the reviewer comment presented here. Your session on international students is terrible because it assumes they have no prior knowledge. Also, I think this should be accepted. Think about what went wrong there based on what we just learned. Did you catch it? First off, it uses an aggressive you statement instead of a constructive I statement. Second, it makes a direct verdict to the applicant about acceptance. And third, it completely lacks a collegial tone. So the correct answer is number 4, all of the above. Always keep your comments kind, clear, and relentlessly focused on the rubric. Let's move to and see how this builds into your actual day-to-day workflow. Here is your 5-step proposal review blueprint. Step 1, read carefully, checking for strand alignment and any red flags. Step 2, evaluate objectively, using the rubric, looking past non-standard English. Step 3, draft your feedback, using those collegial I statements we talked about. Step 4, separate your comments. Remember, constructive feedback goes to the applicant, and brief, direct verdicts go to the coordinators. And finally, step 5, submit on time and maintain total confidentiality. It's a simple, highly effective loop once you get the hang of it. And just like that, we're entering our final section today, section 5. We're transitioning from the review process itself to what happens next, growing our community. Reviewing proposals is an incredibly generous way to serve, but we enthusiastically encourage you to expand your impacts. Reviewing is really just the beginning. I highly recommend joining a TESOL interest section or an IS. This is how you find your specific professional home within our massive global network. By getting involved, you can step up, lead with us, and build intercultural professional connections that last year-round, well beyond our time together at the convention in Houston. So, what is your immediate next step today? Keep a close lookout for an email survey from TESOL. It's going to contain practice proposals and a rubric. I strongly encourage you to complete this practice run. It's a great way to build your confidence before the live reviews officially begin. And please note that your CIC strand coordinators, Andrea, Roxana, and Marcia, are here to support you every step of the way. If you ever get stuck, you can email all 3 of them for the fastest response. I want to leave you with this final, powerful thought. Your intercultural perspective doesn't just evaluate proposals, it builds the future of global ELT. Every single hour you volunteer strengthens our profession globally. Thank you so much for your dedication and your expertise. As you sit down to read that very first proposal, I want you to ask yourself, whose voice will you help amplify today? We absolutely cannot wait to see the incredible program you help us build for Houston. Thank you for joining me for this explainer, and happy reviewing.